Hey guys, Joshua here with This Is Something, and today I'm bringing you another great episode of This is Swordplay.
Hey, real quick before we get started, just want to let you know that as of tomorrow, I'm going to be filming the HUD and Drills Part 1 and 2, and then subsequently the future parts. It was something we had done before our hiatus. We didn't get to finish. So guys, be on the lookout. We're going to be releasing some HUD and Drills here very soon. We're going to do all 8. So keep on the lookout, guys.
Alright guys, welcome back to the second This is Swordplay since our return from hiatus. And I was actually kind of waiting to do this video. I thought I'd do it a little later, but we got a request from YouTube commenter Master Orca. So Master Orca, I know we've had some problems with your comments and trying to get a hold of you, but this video is for you. So let's talk about, Master Orca asked if we would ever do a video on the 1895 British Officers Infantry Sword that was hanging on my wall in one of my previous episodes. And so yeah, we're going to talk about the 1895. Which is actually a little bit of a misnomer. Mine's the 1897, but we'll get into that in just a second. I'm not going to give too much of a history because if you go over to Scala Gladiatoria's channel, he has a really good video talking about the 1895 and 1897 pattern swords. And I'm going to put that link in the description below. So if you want to go check it out, you should. You should go check him out. He's vastly more knowledgeable than myself, and he has some really interesting things on his channel. So, having said that, in the late 19th century, there was this debate in the British Army about cut thrust versus thrust swords, and we see kind of in that late 19th century things kind of shift towards thrust-oriented swords. We see that in the 1895 pattern British Infantry Officers Sword. You see that in the 1908 and 1912 British Cavalry Sword, which is a very long thrust-centric cavalry sword. And you can see it's used a little bit, and there's a movie, the movie War Horse by Steven Spielberg. You see a cavalry charge where they're using those 1908, 1912 patterns. So what happened is in 1845 that we had the British Infantry Officers 1845 pattern sword was a curved sword, and they shifted it over in 1892 to a straight bladed sword. Eventually coming to the 1895 variant, and then finishing off with the 1897 variant. What the difference between the 95 and the 97, mine is an 1897 pattern, is that there's a flattened lip. It kind of turns up and flattens, and that's just so you can carry it on your side without it chafing your uniform or chafing your side. It just kind of softens that edge a little bit that sits on your side. So mine is an 1897 pattern. Interestingly about my sword, something that's a little bit interesting is the blade I have. I don't know anything about. It's clearly it's not a Wilkinson. Most of them have a Wilkinson stamp down below. They have serial numbers. Mine has neither a serial number nor a Wilkinson stamp. And the etching on it is kind of poorly done. But then the steel itself is actually a really good steel. It has a little bit of flex, which is what you'd want in a sword, just so when you parry with it, it has some give, but it's also very stiff, which is what you want. So when you thrust, obviously it's a very thrust-centric sword. It stays stiff, so you can punch through whatever you're hitting. The steel's very good. Now, the guard on mine and the handle are original. I don't know at what point somebody came along and put a third-party blade on the sword, but at some point that did indeed happen. So mine's a little unique this way. I did find it at an antique store. The seller didn't give me any other information, so I don't have any information where this blade came from. But as I said, despite the fact it's not the original blade, it's still a very good blade, and it is. The specifications are the same as the British military specifications. It's got the right length, width, thickness, and all that. So just not really sure where the blade itself came from, but the hilt is an original. Interestingly, by the way, the 1897 pattern is still used to this day as the British Infantry Officers Sword, as a dress sword, kind of like our U.S. Army and U.S. Marines have dress swords. The British Army, their officers have a dress sword, and this is the sword they use up to this day. So this has been in use since 1897, primarily as a dress uniform. Obviously, World War I had come in 1914. We see some usage of this blade, but not a lot. By this point in history, things like revolvers and semi-automatic pistols are really starting to come into play, and really taking over as the choice sidearm for officers. So that's it's a really interesting blade. It's a really great blade. I will say, if you have an opportunity, you find one of these in an antique store, you find one of these, or you find one of these in a yard sale, or you find one of these on eBay, you're looking around, I would highly suggest, if you can swing it. Fortunately, I was really fortunate that the antique store I bought this from, A, had layaway, and B, they had this actually for a pretty fair price. If you can swing it, get one. I was very much in love with the sword from the moment I held it. I'm not really I have a tendency towards sabers, but this feels very light in the hand. It just feels really good in the hand. It feels very light, very fast. I can move in quick on my target and thrust with it. And you can see I can move it around quickly. It's wonderfully balanced. Was really happy with this sword. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little montage here of us doing some cut tests with it, doing some thrust tests with it, and thanks a lot, guys. We hope you liked today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment because we enjoy chatting with you.
Also, check us out on Instagram and Facebook at This Is Something. All the links are below. Thanks, and have a beautiful day.